What's going on, everybody? So today's video is going to be another garden tour. This time it's going to be for March 2022. We're a few days away from official start of spring, but it's already starting to look like spring around here. So let me show you around. So here is our second planting of kohlrabi. The heat hasn't got to them just yet, but that's not to say the heat hasn't came. This is collard greens. You definitely see that it's starting to flower and then it's eventually going to seed. If we were to eat these leaves from these flowered collards, they'd be much more bitter and overall less desirable to eat. Still edible, but more than likely I'm going to be pulling these out soon. Here the gladioluses have already sprouted and already starting to die back. Here's another little fresh little shoot on the side, but this is definitely past its peak flowering. It looked way better before. The grapes definitely sprouted and greenery came back. So far no issues with the grapes. These are pre-buds, but normally from the second year having this planted, these buds come out and they normally don't do anything from what I've seen, so I highly doubt these are going to turn into grapes. What's going to end up happening is these will bud up and then fall off, and then a new set will come in more than likely towards the end of spring, maybe start of early summer. So here we have some onions. So these are around 90 days. Planted these back in, I believe it was, back in December. So we're in March now, so it's been 3 months. It's a little past 90 days, but average time to harvest is between 90 and 120 days. So I'm just gonna keep them in the ground just a little bit longer. Back there I have a kohlrabi, the peas. These are a second planting. I don't think these are gonna get as bushy as the ones that I have that I'll show you, which was my first planting. Still producing a little bit. Oh wow, here, check this out. I didn't see this. So this is a radish that's starting to seed. Wow, I didn't realize this was here. If I pull up the radish that's down below, let's see what we got here. Like, no radish. Oh, there we go. That is interesting. So this is obviously what a radish looks like normally. I guess I let this one go too long without harvesting it. It's starting to look more like a carrot. So there's two different varieties here. These are the royal purple variety on this half, and then this second half is black radishes. So I've never seen black radishes before, so let's see if we have one ready. Doesn't look like there is any ready so far. I did plant these at the same time, but if I remember correctly, the black radishes are longer date to maturity, so it should look like that. Obviously you can see the radish popping up, and you might want to harvest it when it's around the diameter of a quarter, but I'll end up showing you guys later on. The jasmine is starting to flower quite nicely. The smell is really nice. It got nice little blooms. The dragon fruit here, and spraying with a copper fungicide to stop this cactus rust from spreading, but it looks like it's doing the job. You can see here, that's what it looks like when it starts to scab up. So it's stopping the spread, and then you can come here and literally peel the scabs off, and that completely gets rid of the cactus rust there. But I might come in, still give maybe 1 or 2 more applications just to make sure that it's completely gone and get it ready for the season. Hopefully this year I'll be actually getting a dragon fruit. The 2 10x10 beds. So this is still our peas here all on the side. I took out most of the cabbage and the broccolis and the Brussels sprouts. There's one down there still. And then planted our first tomatoes. Some of these aren't looking too good. I transplanted them and there was like a late winter frost that kind of came through and took some damage to some of these ones. Not all of them, but this one here I don't think it's going to be doing much. But that's why I kind of planted them so closely, because I kind of knew some of them were gonna last. So these tomatoes shouldn't be this close to each other, but I'll eventually, you know, thin them out. So this whole row is Berkeley tie-dye tomatoes. So far my favorite variety of tomato. And then interplanted in between that, we have some cactus dahlias. So all along this row, down the row there, all along this row is the purple tomatillos. These peas are coming to an end fairly quickly, but we still got some peas to harvest that I haven't came out here and pulled just yet. But I'll probably get a few more bowls of peas to harvest before, you know, they completely give out. Did leave this Brussels sprout in, and it didn't do too well. I think because this one originated in the UK somewhere, so it's used to the much colder temperatures. My zone here in Southern California, it's not going to be getting to these colder temperatures that these varieties are used to. But these are tiny little Brussels sprouts here that I could probably harvest, but I don't think it's worth the trouble for this small of a Brussels sprout. Then here's again some more peas. They're already starting to fall over since they've gotten so big. These are kohlrabi, if I remember correctly, but I left these in. Obviously the pincher bugs or caterpillars and came in, almost knocked them out. Eventually though, I'm gonna pull these out because if you can see, I put in T-posts with some rebar all along, and they're tied up with some zip ties. These T-posts, these 4 T-posts were in gladiolus bed that's over there that I showed you. So I wanted to just keep basically the tomatoes all on this side, which is what's gonna get planted here, and then using them in the same fashion as, you know, that system there, which is the lower and lean system. They're the exact same size, so these were 10-foot poles, both. Dug these much deeper into the ground, so they're much more stable than these ones, but these two aren't going anywhere at all. I highly recommend, if you guys buy T-posts and try this system, just go ahead and buy the actual tool for it, which is the T-post driver. It'll save you a headache in the end, because I tried going and trying to hammer down these pretty heavy. I think they're about like 20 pounds, maybe 15 to 20 pounds per bar, trying to hold this steady and then hammer down with like a hammer, and then eventually tried with the sledgehammer. These took almost like a full afternoon. Those 3 took about a full afternoon to basically drive down and secure them, but with that T-post driver, these 4 took about 10 minutes. So just pay the extra 40 bucks to get that tool and you won't regret it. Here is the volunteer tomato that was in our grow tent. If you don't know, I'm growing cannabis indoors, and this was supposed to be cannabis, but it ended up a volunteer tomato ended up growing instead of the seed that I planted in it. So I had to let it grow, but then it was getting too big for the tent, so I basically pulled it out. Didn't harden it off or anything like that. There's the tomatoes that are starting to form. Oh, and here's a cutting of the dragon fruit, or mother dragon fruit, that's down there. But this is a cutting. Basically just took one of these nodes off, planted it, and then eventually it's starting to pull out more shoots. And in the L-shaped bed, we have some Great Lakes lettuce all down the side, some spinach and more lettuces. Here we have some collards, and I put in some patty pan squashes over here. I'll show you guys. Here, those 3 there. Here I got the last of the Brussels sprouts. I've harvested quite a few Brussels sprouts. You can see that all the bottom there is taken off from me harvesting. These are basically ready to go. So are these 2. And I also again planted some more. These are now green variety tomatillos. And then the other row right here are some eggplants. So it's gonna be tomatillos here and then eggplants all along there. But the thought process behind it is tomatillos gonna be on this side. They're gonna be growing up the trellis here, which is our cattle panels. And same thing for these green tomatillos. So hopefully we'll have a cascading variety of tomatillos that we could come in and harvest. First year growing tulips. I showed you guys back in the last garden tour, I showed you guys how I overwinterized the bulbs, left them in the refrigerator. After that, planted them, and they are already blooming. Now, as for the seedlings, these are the seedlings that are currently hardened off. I have some more inside. We have some tomatoes here. We got eggplant, some cucumbers. But these tomatillo varieties are the same varieties that I planted out in the 2x10 beds. I'll have a fresh backup. This was amaranth. So all these purple tops here are amaranth. And then some more tomatoes. These are purple bumblebee tomatoes. So again, I'm growing a lot. These are just the first batch of seedlings that I've already hardened off. I still got a lot more seedlings that are indoors that I'll show you now. All right, so it's currently the seedlings night cycle here. I don't really want to disturb them and turn their actual light on. Just have a different variety of things going on in seedling tray. This is a 32 cell. And they're in a much larger pot, so this is going to last you much longer than one cell of these smaller trays. So this will buy you much more time to grow. See, morning glories, got marigolds that have sprouted, zinnias, some bachelor buttons, straw flowers, two different varieties, some carnations, and some aster violets. Definitely want to be incorporating more flowers this year than I have in previous years, just to bring in, the beneficial pollinators along with the beneficial insects to ward off any of the bad insects that eat your plants. So I'm going to be just interplanting all of these along with, my tomatoes, my cucumbers, and so on and so forth. And that ends this month's garden tour. So if you want to check out more content like this, you can click on any of the thumbnails to the right of me, and you can subscribe using the icon right below me. And as always, you won't get a harvest if you don't sow seeds.